In this episode of MEP Masters, Amy will share some of her thoughts on the state of the construction industry and what contractors need to look at in order to thrive over the next decade as change is inevitably coming. I'm David Gabriel, host of MEP Masters. Let's jump in. All right, Amy, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited for this podcast. For those that are listening, Amy is a special guest. You've probably heard of her. She's got, I think, thousands and thousands of followers on LinkedIn. Amy, I saw you had like 7 million views on YouTube, and you're well known within the industry. So we're so excited to have Amy from Autodesk here. And, before we jump into the topic, Amy, would love to hear, just could you share a little bit about, Autodesk, your role at Autodesk, and some of the support they've been giving to the MEP industry?
Sure. So I'm the vice president of industrialized construction at Autodesk. And I came from industry actually about 2.5 years ago to come and work with Autodesk because I think, we're looking at moving from a product company, obviously now to a platform company to support customers across really the life cycle from concept to commissioning. And the MEP trades are obviously a huge part of that. So I've always been a big supporter of the trade contractors, having been a contractor myself in the past. And we are really supporting people with making sure that their data and their information is really cutting through.
That's awesome. That's great. And I know you're coming to MEP Force. Speaking about the state of the industry, I'm ready to see you in San Antonio. I've got my cowboy hat ready to go. So that'll be a lot of fun for MEP Force. And, I'd love to hear a little bit about, just give us a little bit of a teaser of what you're going to be speaking about at MEP Force. I know you're going to be talking about the state of the industry. Is that like, the past, present, future, or what is that going to be about?
Well, I love going to Texas. I just came back, so I'm going to put this is the closest I could get to a cowboy hat with my fashion.
I love it.
I'll wear that for now. I think what's really great about going to MEP Force is that, first of all, I've been going for a long time, and I really appreciate the conversations that are going on there. This year, when they asked me if they could do a special keynote where I'd really be doing more Q&A and a fireside chat, I think it's important because I always love talking to people and being challenged on ideas and evolving our ideas. But I'm going to be talking about, the current state. And I think the near term future, some of the challenges and opportunities, as well as the long term, state of what I believe is happening and what many believe is already happening in our space that could truly impact people's businesses, both positively and potentially negatively if they're not aware of those. So that's what I'll be talking about.
That's awesome. So this is a pretty unique speaking engagement because normally you're a keynote speaker on stage. This is more of that, Q&A fireside chat where you can dive deeper into some of the topics that you've brought up, and we can really dig into those ideas and really understand and almost like mastermind on the spot, how do we solve these complex challenges?
I mean, most people know me that I process live pretty quickly, and I meet with my role at Autodesk is actually to meet with our biggest customers and help them adapt their strategy. So I process all the time in front of executives on what it is they're doing and where, I see some things that they might want. I always say, what do you want to be when you grow up, to the biggest CEOs of the biggest companies? What does your company want to be? But I think this is really unique. It's almost like choose your own adventure with the queen of prefab on stage. And I think that's really exciting for me because I do want to talk about what people really want to hear. And I love hearing challenges, and I love evolving my own thinking based on those challenges. And I think that's, they call me a thought leader in the space, even at Autodesk, but I think I don't love that phrase. I think it's more of a two-way street in communication, and we're all evolving for everyone's success.
Right. Like it's both sides. It's not just a one-side thought leader, but it's really the collaboration between, yourself, who's, now on the software side, solving some of these challenges, and then, the customer who, and it's, that working together on both sides. So I love that. What would you say, like, is, just to give us like a sneak peek, like, what do you think is like the biggest challenge right now that's facing MEP contractors?
I mean, I think right now there is definitely work out there. A lot of people are busy. I think obviously the labor crunch is a big problem for us in all of the space around the world, and just the volume of projects that are out there. But I think honestly that when convergence is going on, where we see the melding of different industries and different processes and technologies, there is a lot of make information in the subcontractor communities. But I think the manufacturers also have a lot of make information. So when you are looking at something like a skid and 70% is made by a manufacturer, and the skid is pretty much what's left over with some fabrication, there's a lot of pressure from the manufacturers to move sort of ahead in the process in front of those MEP contractors. So I think that's a big challenge. And being able to articulate what you make in have, we always talked about productization for many years, and now everyone's talking about productization, this and that. But I think at the end of the day, you truly have to understand the pressures of going against manufacturers that are making the majority of the things on your assemblies.
So future state is really similar to the theme of MEP Force. It's, we're stronger together. Like, how do we work together from you've got the contractor side. I remember, early in some of the earlier MEP forces, it was around getting that, the contractor earlier into the process. And now it's connecting them with a lot of the manufacturers. And this data exists, right? And it's an asset, and it's, accessing that data. Is that similar to what you're saying?
Yeah, I think unfortunately for the MEP trades, the data exists mostly with the manufacturers, not necessarily with the MEP trades. Although there are a lot of companies that have actually understood how to digitize and create data that's an asset. I think we have to really think about, if you have to move to the front of the process with your mouth and your feet only, you're in trouble. If you can't figure out how to get data and technology to articulate what it is that you are good at and what you can make, and how these things actually perform with the data, that's actually associated with these things that you make, that might be an issue for our industry, the industries of the MEP and F, type groups that are out there. I think it's a challenge right now, and it's a race. If you don't, by the way, if you don't know it's a race, you're probably not in it. How's that?
Yeah. Yeah, I've definitely seen that, and just talking with some of our customers at Evolve, it definitely is a race. This is a unique time where I think a lot of the giants are going to be made during this time. And those that are figure out how to get because the work is out there, just like you said. So it's who's able to create the operations that can accept that work, and then also leverage their assets, their people,
Right.
technology, data.
I mean, this is the era of manufacturing informed design.
Mhm.
If you're not thinking about your operation like you want to change your fab shop to a manufacturing facility and start creating data and digitizing like manufacturers, you might just miss it.
Give us just a quick glance into the future. I know you're going to talk a lot more about this at MEP Force, but just what do you foresee as, like 5 years from today, or even 10 years down the road, like future state? Like, what does business look like for the trade contractor?
It's funny. I think we're not an industry in our built environment. We're an ecosystem of industries, right?
Mhm.
But I like to use this phrase expected experience. My expected experience in life is that on my Apple Watch right now, I could order a pizza, customize it, see when it went in the oven, know when it came out, see when it's actually in transport, understand which car is going to pull up to my house, probably see a picture of the driver and their license plate, and watch a video of them on my watch as they come up to my front door to answer it, right? That is
Mhm.
my expected experience. When I shop at e-commerce sites, it's my expected experience to do queries at, you know, for whatever it is that I'm looking for, and see manufacturers, distributors, and also the original, some of the resellers on that site. And I want to compare. I think we have to start using that expected experience in our space to know that that technology exists
Mhm.
and will be implemented in short order as we start connecting this digitized world. If you're not thinking like that and you think it's going to be the same old, get your people with their mouth and their feet to the front, that's not how anything else is done in this world, right?
Yeah.
So think about expected experience, know that that is coming. And as our ecosystem has really been aging out, as people are coming up in this space, why would I do anything differently than the way I live my normal life? Why would I think that I would never get an estimate on something and know later not know what I was going to pay and not know when it was going to show up? By the way, we are still calling people on the phone who call somebody else, who call somebody else, who call somebody else to see when stuff is showing up on site. Think about the expected experience for anything else. We have a highly instrumented world where I could know on a computer screen where things are and when it's coming without it, even talking to a human being. And we have to use that expected experience in our future state coming forward because it's here and it's already here and it's coming even faster.
I love that. That's so good. Like the technology already exists. It's here, right? And a lot of us use it every day. And that expectation of experience, is just going to accelerate as more millennials and then Gen Z enter into the workforce. And a lot of them, it's like they're going to want to work with companies, the companies that are able to create that type of customer experience. They're going to attract the best talent, right? Because that's what they're used to, used to that experience. That's their native experience now.
Yes. It's funny. That's one of the reasons why I'm actually talking about this at a conference coming up, why it's actually at Advancing Prefab, because it's so hard to get talent right now. It's not that people are resigning and people are aging out. We don't have young people even applying, right? Like it's the great, not resignation, it's the great not applying, as I think it's Gary Vee that says that. And what's so important about that is they will come if they have that expected experience of what they want to do.
Yeah.
If you don't have social media at your company, if you don't have technology at your company, if people aren't able to do things like they could do just in their homes, but at their workspace and get that kind of recognition that they're looking for as young people in the space, you're not going to get those people. That's why they started doing those signings like athletes now for plumbing companies. If you're not going to put them on screen and say, I just signed so-and-so as a plumbing contractor these days, you have to start thinking about what the young people, what their expected experiences in their work life. They want it the same as the rest of their lives. It's not going to fly.
That's so true. That's so good. And so many great companies have pulled from, other industries where those industries may be ahead in bringing some of those ideas into ours. And, I love the examples of like Amazon and how you buy shoes. Like I know you've used that many times, but it's a simple example, but that's existed for like, 10, like 10 years now, like
right.
Even longer than that. You know what I mean? So
yes. What's funny about that? I was in a meeting with a bunch of MEP guys actually recently. And I said, this is going to be a connected, digitized ecosystem with commerce, like very soon. I actually believe in the next 2 to 3 years, if not sooner. But, it was an older gentleman who owned a company. And he said, I think you're actually crazy. He said something else, but he said, I think I'll paraphrase. He said, I think you're crazy. And I said, am I? I'm like, listen, in 2019, Amazon had 145,000 different private labeled products under like 45 different brands. I put those brands in my mouth, on my skin, and on my hair, and in my baby's mouth, her skin and her hair, right? She's 14, not a baby anymore. But you think a pipe spool is so special? Like, you don't think I'm going to be able to buy a commodity assembly of some sort, even skids? Look, I buy generators like that now. You think this is so special, then you should wake up, because I don't believe that to be so special. I think that we will enable those companies that can understand the data to configure the pieces and parts in a better way, in a most effective way, and articulate that to show people like my pizza where it is, to inform designers so that we're not, as I like to say, drawing geometric boxes only, and we're not doing assumption-based design. Those teams that are able to articulate these things, they will end up being the winners. If you're not, you will not win. You can only hold on for so long. I truly believe that. And then you don't want to wake up one day and recognize that you've been left behind, because this takes time. And you're gonna have to start now foundationally to get ready.
Yep. And now is the time. It's a critical time. So Amy, that is so good. So what would be, one of the things I like to do on this show is, have like one piece of practical advice. If I'm listening to this and it's like, what is one thing I can do besides come to MEP Force and see you speak? What is one thing that they can do to move in this direction if they haven't already?
I think what's really important about that is learning about manufacturing informed design. How can you take your domain expertise and get that sticky in technology ready for the day when somebody can go look up your pipe spool? Is all your data and your product and process development in order for that? Start learning about that right now.
I love it. Great stuff. All right. And then the final question, why should someone attend MEP Force?
I mean, it's just one of the greatest shows out there for the trade contractors. I think, I have a love always for the trade contractors because I truly believe they have a huge opportunity right now. A lot of humble people work in the trades and own trade, a lot of the MEP trades. I just want to see them succeed. And I think everyone there has a great attitude about helping each other succeed and seeing what's out there and being really realistic about the world. So it is one of my favorite shows that I get to do every year. I think I did 70 keynotes last year, and it's probably in my top 3. So around the world, I love coming to MEP Force. It's one of my favorites.
Awesome. Thank you, Amy. It has been great having you on the show. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Big thanks to Amy for coming on the podcast, and thank you, listener, for listening to this episode. Any questions or want to join me on a podcast? Email us at marketing@evolvemep.com. And once again, thank you to Amy Marks from Autodesk, and I'll see you next time.